And now, live from downtown Amarillo, Texas, this is the Amarillo Pioneer Podcast. Here's your host and the editor of the Amarillo Pioneer, Thomas Warren.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our podcast again this week. And we are excited to be speaking with another candidate running in the May 6th election to represent you in one of these many races that we're going to have to decide. And today, we're actually speaking with one of the incumbents running for re-election in this upcoming election cycle. He is Dick Ford, and he is an incumbent on the Amarillo Independent School District Board of Trustees. I guess finishing up his first term, he's looking to go back for another term and hoping to win your vote. And before we get started with all of the issues and why Trustee Ford is running for a second term, Dick, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. And how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, we really appreciate it again, you joining us. And let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for re-election this year.
Good. Thanks. Yeah, I'm Dick Ford. Grew up here in Amarillo. Graduated from Tascosa, ISD school, of course, and then went to the military, got out, went back to WT, and after I graduated from WT, I was in the real estate business here in Amarillo and still am to some degree. We just do investments and development this time. I've raised a couple kids here in AISD schools. I've helped raise grandkids here in the AISD school system, and it's a great school system. And at my age, we're always looking to try to do something to give back, especially if it's been good to you. And Amarillo's been good to me. And so I ran for school district 4 years ago, school board rather, and was fortunate enough to win. We've accomplished a lot. It's amazing what you don't know until you get on that board. It's a $320 million budget. The state of Texas has so much involvement in what it is that we do and how we spend our money. And we've accomplished a lot the last several years. I feel I was a big part of most of those accomplishments. And I've been asked by some of the board members and some of the employees to please run again. We got things going the right direction, and I guess they like my leadership and what it is I bring to the table, so I've agreed to run again.
Excellent. Well, with all of these interviews, we've always asked the candidates about their priorities, and we will ask you about your priorities here in just a second. But let's kind of focus back on the past 4 years of your tenure. Tell us about some of your accomplishments and what you are most proud of from your work on the Board of Trustees.
But now keep in mind, there's no one board member has accomplished anything. Anything that was accomplished by the consensus of the entire board. There's 7 board members. And so with that said, the opening of our new ACAL Center is just over. It's Old Sunset Center. That's been a $50 million development, and it's been an incredible for the whole city of Amarillo. Arguably, not my comment, but others, it's the best facility like that in the entire United States. And it's just amazing what it is that we can accomplish over there with these kids and what it is we can provide for the city of Amarillo and potential employers that want to come to Amarillo. That's been good. Probably one of the biggest things that we've accomplished in the last 4 years since I've been on the board, and it was stimulated by the administration itself. We just all agreed with it and 100% concurred with it, and that is the safety, the money we spend on safety and security across the district. All of our high schools are completely fenced. Security, we constantly are having people trying to intentionally get through security, and we're very proud of all the money and the effort and the things that we've spent on security. I don't think anybody would disagree. The most important thing we can do is have safety for our kids. That is the most important thing, to have safety for our kids and our teachers. And we've spent a lot of time, effort, and energy and money on that, and very proud of the accomplishment that we've done there. Another thing we've done that I took part in and helped instigate was the COVID leave for teachers. I think we have probably the premier COVID leave policy in the entire state of Texas, possibly the United States. Whenever the COVID come along, the federal government told everybody how many days they had to take off and when they could go back to work. It wasn't necessarily up to us. Now, late after about a year and a half or 2 years, we did have to say so, and the federal government restrictions became a little less. But it just wasn't fair for a teacher that is not sick to be told by the federal government you can't come to work and then not get paid. And so we saw that. We didn't think that was fair. And so there's no teachers that has had to take off because of COVID that lost 10 cents. And so we're very proud of that. And there's many other accomplishments. We can go through them, but those are probably the three most important ones I feel we've done.
I want to ask you, before we get into the priorities, something kind of unique about your tenure was you came on the Board of Trustees in 2019. That was your first time ever being an elected office or anything like that. At about the time you were coming on, the Board of Trustees was really kind of seeing some major shakeups in, the composition of its membership. You had members resign, you had some lose re-election. So what was it like getting on the Board of Trustees at a time when there was a lot of change in the composition of the membership, and what was it like getting used to that?
Before you can compare what it's like to get used to it, you need to know what it's like beforehand. And so I had no experience as to what it was like beforehand. So every experience I had was the current experience and what we were dealing with. And it's just one of those things. I mean, I didn't think it was a big deal one way or the other. You just take what comes, especially if you hadn't ever done it before. You just deal with it as it comes. And it wasn't all that big deal. We appointed, we had a board. We had to fill, eventually we had to fill, I guess, 2 other seats, and we filled those seats. And those individuals continued to run for re-election again, and then both of them won. And I think it was a very smooth process, and it just wasn't a big deal.
Sure. Well, let's talk about your priorities for this year's election. Tell us a little bit about what you want to tackle if you get reelected on the board.
Well, I've already been down to Austin once. I'll probably go down again. The biggest thing I would like to tackle is more funding and be able to get these teachers better compensated. We have some of the finest, highly educated teachers in the entire country. If you go spend some time and visit with our teachers, our principals, and our vice principals, most all of them are very, very competent enough to be in a 6-digit salary in the private world. They're all very highly educated, highly motivated. And I've always said, after being a board member for 4 years, one thing and of course my mother was a teacher. And one thing I've realized is that any teacher that's been teaching for more than 3 or 4 years loves kids. I don't know how many of y'all have kids. But it's a whole lot easier to love your own than it is a bunch of other ones that are giving you a hard time all day long. But our teachers are incredible. So I would like to do what I can do to help get more funding from the state. I'd like for the state to revisit this program that they're talking about, a savings account for private schools and things of that nature. I'd like for them to revisit that and be sure we're not taking money away from public education. So that'd be my goal. Try to get more money, and hopefully we can allocate that money toward additional teacher compensation.
Well, speaking of Austin and the legislature, I need to ask you about this issue. Recently, there's been a strong push by some groups and candidates to call on school districts across Texas to disassociate from TASB, the Texas Association of School Boards. Do you have any feelings about that push, and do you think Amarillo ISD should be associated with TASB?
Yeah, well, we do a lot. They do a lot of training for us. I'd like, there's a few things I'd like for them to maybe revisit. My personal opinion overall, I think we're better off with them than we are without them.
Well, I want to ask you about another issue that, if I didn't ask you about this, I think people out there would be really upset and they'd probably kill me because we're having to ask
Right.
all the school board trustee candidates about this. I'm sure you've heard the concerns about the books and schools all across Texas, and we've seen some pretty crazy things come out of some of these school districts. That issue has also been addressed by some of the candidates running here in Amarillo. Do you have any thoughts about the concerns by parents on the books they've been seeing in schools, and how are you addressing that at Amarillo ISD?
Yeah, I mean, we have a concern. Anytime a parent's concerned about anything, we've got all ears. We totally believe, not just me, but our administration believes that parents should have an integral say so in their kids' education, and we're totally on board with that. And if there's a book that a parent feels they don't is not right for their kids, uh, we'll make sure that kid doesn't have that book. Whenever a kid does check out a book, we do have a policy I think is kind of interesting. Whenever a kid checks out a book in the library, and my gosh, we've got tons of books and tons of libraries, and when a kid checks out a book, we notify the parents of the book that kid checked out. So that way the parent has 100% knowledge as to what books those kids are reading in our school district. And if there's something that's a parent doesn't like, then we have meetings with that parent and we address those concerns and deal with it accordingly. What you're talking about is this amplified program, I guess, is what you're talking about. I'm speculating because that seems to be the hot button. And that was a program that the state of Texas recommended that we do, and we did it. And the process that Amplify implements is a very good process. Nobody has a problem with the learning methodologies in which Amplify has come up with. The issues is some of the things that Amplify, some of the readings that Amplify picked up in some of their books. And even we feel that some of those things are inappropriate. So we have vetted those, and we have removed all those from our instruction, and in the process we've replaced them with acceptable books that are still along the line of the methodology of the amplified teaching, but it's different text. We had many meetings down in Austin, about this very issue. And one of the things that we talked about is we have a highly educated bunch of college kids in the state of Texas, a lot of state schools, and we can have a lot of text be written here in Texas. And I think that's one thing that to look at.
Well, let's talk about what the Board of Trustees' role should be in keeping Amarillo affordable. Because, we've been hearing concerns about rising tax rates, and the legislature says we might get some kind of tax relief as far as the school districts are concerned this year. We just kind of have to wait and see how the session goes. But from your perspective, what's the most important thing the Board of Trustees can do to keep Amarillo affordable and the tax rate low enough for people to live?
I think that's an interesting question. The answer to that is the state of Texas has control of that, not the school board. Your school taxes have been reduced every year since I've been a school board member by the state of Texas. We don't have control over that. So the taxes, your property taxes per 100 went down about I forget 7 or 8 cents per 100 last year, just because of the increase in valuation of property. And that's not the case for the city and the county and all the other taxable entities. When the property values continue to go up, their tax rate may not go up, but yet they still get increased revenue. When property values go up, it's called compression, and the governor of the state of Texas reduces the amount of dollars per 100 that a school district can receive, in essence, keeping the gross amount of dollars it received stable or the same from year to year without any increases. The state of Texas funds about 70% of our total budget, and the local property taxes fund around 25%. And the last several years, the state of Texas has reduced through compression the amount of property taxes that people pay for public education. And as personally, I think that we ought to pay more for public education. And I think it's important that we provide all the assets necessary so we can have a highly educated, motivated young youth in society.
Sure. Well, I want to switch gears to a few questions we've introduced this year. We've been doing these candidate interviews for a long time, and what we found is, you guys are running for local office, and win or lose, we all have to be neighbors in this town, and we all need to get to know each other a little bit better and see that, hey, even though you're a politician for 6 months out of every 2, or I guess in your case, out of every 4 years, we all still live in this town, and we all need to get to know each other a little bit better. So we have some get to know you questions, and these are just kind of fun and short. And if you're ready, we'll just jump right into them.
Sounds good.
So what is your favorite thing about Amarillo?
That's an interesting question. I grew up here. I went to school here, raised family here. I lived in Dallas shortly after I got out of the Navy. But I just love Amarillo. We've got some of the best hunting anywhere in the world. We don't have the traffic that we have in the Dallas. I just got back from Florida, and so we have good air traffic, planes. I mean, we can go anywhere in the world and not have the hassle of living with all those other people. We just got the beauty of living in Amarillo, Texas.
There is something to be said for that because, whenever you fly into Dallas-Fort Worth and you have to sit there and wait for, 15 minutes for them to get up to your gate, and then you fly into Amarillo and you're just right there, you really get spoiled to that here. So I understand that. Well, what is your favorite restaurant in Amarillo, and what's your go-to order when you go there?
Interesting.
These are going to be the toughest questions you get all election cycle, probably.
Yeah. I think the name of it over in Wolfson Village. They've got the good salmon over there, and we like going over there. It's close to where we live, and I'm blank. What's the name? Can't think of the name of it. Right there in Wolfson Village. I mean, not Wolfson Village, but Wellington Square, right over there. And we enjoy going over there. Good food, close to the house.
What was your first job?
My first job. Well, I guess when in 5th grade, I started mowing grass, but I don't know if that counts. When I was in the 8th grade, I guess it was, or 9th grade, I can't remember. Used to wash dishes out at the Bob Dow restaurant out there on I-40. They closed it down now, but used to ride my motorcycle out there and wash dishes in the mornings during the summer. But before that, I worked in a farm down in Dumas. I spent summers on the farm working down there. So I've been working for a long time.
Excellent. And finally, this is probably the most controversial question that you're going to get asked this election cycle. Which Amarillo high school has the best mascot?
Interesting. I went to Tascosa. I kind of liked we had Johnny Reb back then, and now they've got the other mascot. But the Dons are good. The Sandys is kind of interesting. Of course, Caprock, the Longhorns. If you like those Longhorns, I like the local Longhorns. Anyway, I'm a Red Raider fan, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and a WT fan. But Paladura, I like the Paladura mascot. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know that I could answer that one.
Sure.
We got the best high schools anywhere in the country. I tell you this, I've gotten to know all the principals, and I've gotten to know all the football coaches. and they're also the athletic directors for that campus, and they're just all four incredible uh, schools, and I'm just really proud of all of them.
Well, thanks so much for being with us. And for anyone listening to this who is still undecided and they're saying, I have so many choices for the school board this year, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. Can you just take a minute to tell us why you are the person who needs to be reelected to the Board of Trustees this year?
Well, I don't have any personal agenda. My sole goal and objective is to try and do good for our kids in our district. Like I said, I don't have any personal agenda. And I don't know that anybody else does either. I hear stuff, but all I know is what I hear. And I've been around for a long time in the construction, real estate business. We've been spending close to $100 million a year or more on construction. I've got a lot of background there. I think I bring a lot to the table in evaluating the construction process, and passionate about my kids and our teachers and our schools. And I think we've done a pretty good job, and I appreciate your vote. I guess you've explained to all the voters about how the voting works for AISD. Now that there's 3 board members running, everybody will get 3 votes, and then but when they go vote, you can put all 3 votes for one person, or you can split them up, however you want to do it. And so I appreciate all 3 votes.
Yes, that is very important to note. It sounds complicated for anyone who's not voted like that before, but it really isn't. At least in Potter County, I know the way it works is you go in and when you have your list of candidates in front of you, whoever you want for the school board, you click their name, and I think it'll say, do you want to give them 3, 2, or 1 votes? And then you can just allocate like that. So whoever you want to vote for, it's very simple to do it. But outside of that, for anyone listening who wants to help your campaign, they want to get a yard sign or donate or just do something to get Dick Ford reelected to the Board of Trustees, how can they do that?
Well, you can go online. Of course, you can always call me myself. If you Google Dick Ford, you'll get my cell phone. And we've got a campaign website. We've got a campaign Facebook page. And then I've got a personal Facebook or personal page, website, and I'm getting text messages and emails constantly from people wanting to know what they can do and want to go put up a sign. So if you want a sign, holler at me or text me, email me, and we'll get you one.
Excellent. Well, Dick Ford, we really appreciate you being with us today. And for anyone listening to this, you still have a little bit of time before Election Day, but at this point you need to be making some decisions, and we hope that tonight gave you a little bit of an opportunity to know Dick Ford better. But either way, Dick, we really appreciate you being with us, and we wish you all the best on your campaign, sir.
All right, thank you all. Thanks for what you're doing.